Difficult time for Wilfried Nancy. Chris Sutton is still up on the gantry and can join us now. And Chris, he's talking about context. And if you look at that first half performance, Celtic could have been clear away from Dundee United. And it's not Wilfried Nancy's fault that so many chances and opportunities were missed. But ultimately, supporters look at results. How does he turn this around?
Well, he needs to win games and perform well. I mean, Wilfried Nancy saying it was a good performance. It was in the first half, but there are two halves to the game, Wilfried, and Celtic weren't good enough in the second half. I've got massive sympathy for him. I think Chris touched on it before the game, you know, saying that this isn't a rehearsal. Celtic aren't in pre-season, and if Wilfried Nancy had a whole pre-season, you could maybe see things panning out and the club moving in the right direction. But he hasn't got that. He's saying, I haven't got time to work. He said that in the interview with Luke. So it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to really get this side going. I mean, what's happened since Martin O'Neill has left? The confidence levels of certain players have dropped. Hatate looked like he was coming onto a game under Martin O'Neill. Engels. But the bottom line was Celtic, and it has been like it all season, and I don't care what anybody else says. They have some bang average players. They have second-rate strikers, and that's the issue. Missed, you know, unbelievable chances tonight. These players aren't good enough to play for Celtic,
and good enough when they were winning games under Martin O'Neill.
Both boxes.
They were good enough when they were winning games under Martin O'Neill.
Come on, they're papering over the cracks. Martin did unbelievably well. I mean, don't forget what was it? St Mirren, I think, was it the second shot on target when McGregor lashes one in from 25 yards.
Hibs beat them at the weekend.
Hang on a minute, let me finish. Hibs away, Dundee at home. Martin O'Neill, you know, he came out himself and said that there needs to be recruitment in January. He knew Celtic were getting away with it. He produced miracles, but let's not make out this Celtic team is a good team. It's not. It's bang average, and with key players missing, January's going to be the key. This Celtic team look like they're a third place team.
You look at
they really do. You know, you can't keep making excuses. I mean, they've got a lot of nice five-a-side players, but when it comes to the crunch in both boxes, they're not great. I mean, just, you know, look at the defensive record under Wilfried Nancy, and then you look in the, you know, all season I've said Celtic, I don't know how they're really going to score a goal, and this was a. Look, Dundee United fought well in the second half. They were more intense. But this wasn't a Dundee United team in good form.
Celtic's budget will be 10 times the amount of what Dundee United's is.
Okay. Well, and yeah.
So why are they not performing?
Why are you going on about budgets? I said Celtic bought badly in the summer. We can go on about budgets. There are too many players underperforming.
For 5 million. Dundee United will probably not even spend that in a year.
Yeah, I know. Well, what do you want me to?
Well, they can't beat them. So what's the problem?
So. Well, what I don't actually know what you're getting at. I've said Celtic have too many substandard players. They have players who aren't producing the form of previous seasons. They have a goalkeeper who's miles off it. They look like they're going to concede goals, and they don't have strikers who are good enough to play for Celtic. So it doesn't matter about budgets.
Because the first half performance was good, and there was chances created. Do you think if there was better players available with the style that Wilfried Nancy's trying to play, that it would be better?
Yep. I do, and that's where I have sympathy for him, because I think he has qualities as a coach, and you can see some of the rotations and his ideas. I agree with what you guys said about playing one centre-half. I mean, you know, if you're playing against Celtic, you think corners, throw-ins, get balls into the box, bully Celtic. You can do that. But, you know, people just can't tell me that Johnny Kenny is good enough to lead the line for Celtic. He is not. Shin Yamada isn't good enough to lead the line for Celtic. He is not. That's an issue. Yang has become a key component. I mean, you know, Celtic were trying to flog Yang for £3 million. These players just aren't. That's where the fault lies. That's where the major fault lies.
Okay, so it's on the manager then? No. It's on the manager because
he hasn't signed anyone yet, Chris.
No. Luke McCowan was playing really well under Martin O'Neill. Yes.
He was doing okay. Martin got more out of players like Hatate.
So the manager's taking him
Engels.
out. Rio Hatate was doing okay. We spoke about, I think it was at Easter Road, Engels getting on the ball. Arnie Engels getting on the ball and in the box and scoring goals. So are we saying it's now a manager's problem that he's failed to get the best out of them?
I'm saying I think that he's come in and he's changed things. And, you know, he said he spoke to Martin O'Neill. He said he had 15 minutes with him. And he said in the Luke Shandy interview before the game, you know, Martin has his way and I have my way. And, you know, losing 4 games on the spin, his way isn't working. He took a chance going with a team with a lack of physicality today, and balls into the box were what did for Celtic in the end. But you know, you can't get past the fact that Celtic are so poor in certain areas, and they need to improve that. And the only way to improve it is with recruitment, and that's not on Wilfried Nancy. He inherited this squad, and it hasn't been a good squad all season. So let's not pretend it has, because that's nonsense.
What happens if he's not winning games, though? Because we all know that they need players, but if you can't just say, right, everything will be okay in January.
Now we'll find out on Sunday, won't we? I think it's Sunday, the game against Aberdeen. I mean, you could hear, you know, the Celtic fans tonight singing Martin O'Neill's name. You know, that's not a great sign. They were singing.
A lot of angry Celtic fans tonight, Chris.
There were a lot of angry. I mean, Celtic have had it good for 25 years and a lot to cheer about. But tonight, there was a lot of angry Celtic fans.
What about Wilfried Nancy moaning about decisions? You know, you've had a lot to say about other managers when they go to referees. Did you hear
what decisions did he?
After the game, blaming decisions as well?
I think we're just going down
a silly
road now.
You like to call out our managers, but
never mind.
You seem to be staying behind this one.
Angles, it's Lewis and Ernie, they're used to it.
Yeah, I know. But because when you talk about the recruitment, and we've talked about the drop-off from the team that played against Bayern Munich and ran them so close, that's not on Wilfried Nancy, like you say. But for any manager that came in at this moment in time, the way the club is, it was always going to be difficult. And to not start by winning games, it feels almost like then everything goes on the manager who has walked into this situation. And like James is saying, if you're going to continue with Wilfried Nancy, as the board have said that they will do, how difficult is it, the situation that he is working under, to try and do something with what he has?
There are Celtic fans.
He's walked into three questions at once. Wait a minute, you're saying he's walked into this situation?
A club that is fractured and not cohesive.
What about, we are speaking about the statement that was released after Brendan Rodgers decided to walk. Martin O'Neill walked into and inherited a worse dressing room, a worse situation, and was able to get results. Martin O'Neill left the club in a far better place with 7 wins out of 8, and now look at this.
I don't know whether you were part of the same conversation we had about Martin O'Neill 10 minutes earlier, but Martin O'Neill, I mean, Martin will tell you himself that, you know, his team were papering over the cracks, you know, and his team struggled to win games, but he found a way. It was unbelievable what he did with that group of players. But Martin wasn't fooled by that, and he knew that wasn't the levels. Hence, why would he come out publicly and say the need to bring players in?
So Wilfried Nancy's the wrong manager for Celtic?
Well, who said that?
Well, I'm asking you, if Martin O'Neill can get results, but Wilfried Nancy can't, why did they not just stick with Martin?
Why did they? Because I don't know whether you followed, Chris. Martin was an interim appointment. That's why they did that. That was always going to be the case. They were always going to. There's nothing wrong with the plan, but he needed to come in and hit the ground running. He hasn't done that, and his issue is, as we've seen tonight, there are a lot of fans. I mean, there were fans before tonight who, within 3 games, have lost faith in Wilfried Nancy, and you think, well, is that fair after 3 games? But what he does need to do is he needs to get his team performing, and a bit of belief within the fan base. That hasn't happened. I think Sunday's going to be really interesting, the atmosphere within Celtic Park Sunday, and how and how that goes. If they lose again on Sunday, I mean, this can't go on. Celtic have Celtic. Well, they can from your point of view, but Celtic have to win the league this season to get into the Champions League.
You said they were going to be third.
When does that stop,
and that is the be-all and end-all.
Chris,
so
when
that's
does that
something
stop?
that the Celtic board need to think about.
This can't go on. They have to win the next game. When does that stop? They have to win the next game.
Well, that's a decision for the board. But I mean, was it the 4th loss? Was it first time since the 1970s? I mean, it can't go. But the difference between sort of Glasgow football and anywhere else, when the whole fan base turns against the manager, that's the end. And I honestly don't know whether we're that far off that at this moment in time. And that's Wilfried Nancy's problem, and that's going to be, and that's why Sunday, I think,
would you keep him? Would you keep him? Or do you think his time's up?
On any board, Chris.
You get paid for your opinion. Would you keep him, or is his time up?
Well, I'm not on any board,
no,
Chris.
But you get paid for your opinion. You've got an opinion different else.
I don't see the work he does every day or whatever. I think it's incredibly difficult. I think he should have came in, my opinion, and managed the situation. I don't necessarily think that he has done that. He's come in and he's been a coach and he said, I'm going to do it my way. Well, Wilf's way at this moment in time isn't working, and that's a problem. And Celtic fans demand better.
I'll get you in the car park for a cuddle, friend. I'm okay.
Thank you.
Chris,